Hello, and a very warm welcome to you as you join us for the Paramics Workshops 2020. The Paramics Workshops this year are very different to normal years. Usually in the month of June, myself and the rest of the team are travelling around the UK and Ireland, meeting with Paramics users in various locations and sharing a workshop day together. Now, of course, this year we're unable to do that because of the coronavirus pandemic. And so instead, what we want to do is bring you the Paramics Workshops online. So it's a different format this year, but the intention is that we can still communicate the same level of quality in terms of the information and training and support that we provide via the workshops. Let me introduce myself first of all. My name is Malcolm Calvert and I'm the Director of Paramics Microsimulation Traffic Software at Sistra Limited. I have been involved with Paramics for the past 15 years, starting initially as a transport modeler, as many of you are, using Paramics on projects, and more laterally I have become involved in the training and support services that we offer, and now leading the team as we develop Paramics Discovery as a product and the services that surround that. And so it's my great pleasure to join you today and to be able to share with you the first of our workshops. I'm going to be leading some of these sessions, and other members of the team will be leading other ones as we go through. So let me just begin by framing what the workshops are really about. Firstly, they are about finding out about the product developments in the last year. So we've been working hard. Our development team have been improving Paramics Discovery, adding new features and functionality and innovations, and we want to share all of that with you through these workshops so you know exactly what we've done in the product in the last year. We don't only want to tell you what we've done, but also help you to learn how to use those new features as effectively as possible. The second thing is we want to explore some real-world examples and good practice together. As a company, we not only develop Paramics Microsimulation, but we also use it extensively on projects. And so we're able to share with you that knowledge of using Paramics Discovery in real applications and the best practice that we recommend that goes along with that. And that can be from a project management level right down to a very detailed coding level. And we'll be sharing lots of that with you throughout these workshops. And finally, they're an opportunity to ask questions that you might have and also to provide us with feedback on the product. Now, it's a bit different this year because of the format in terms of asking questions. Usually we're around a table and we can have a conversation. These YouTube videos are pre-recorded, but they're premiered live, and that means that you can ask a question in the live chat on our YouTube channel as they're premiered, and we're there to answer those questions. The other thing we will do is collate the questions that come up throughout the workshops, and we'll have a session at the end where we cover all of the questions and answers so that you're not left in any doubt if you've got questions about Paramics through this period. And of course, it's really useful for us to get your feedback on our products and services, and so we'll be looking for some of that from you at the end of this workshop series. So just a little bit about the format of the workshops. We're going to be running these as weekly sessions on our YouTube channel. The best way to make sure that you don't miss any of those is to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you can see the link on this slide, or you could simply go to YouTube and search for Paramics Microsimulation. You'll be able to choose an option to be notified of each new video when it's being premiered. They're all going to be at 12 noon on Wednesdays, starting today on the 27th of May. We're going to keep the sessions to 30 minutes, so they're really digestible. They're not going to eat too much into your day, and hopefully you'll be able to fit those in to your busy schedules. And because we're keeping them quite short, it means we're probably going to have quite a lot of sessions and maybe a bit more than we would have in one day if we were doing the workshops in person. So what we'll probably do is run these workshops at least to the end of June, and then we might take a break over the summer holidays and come back and run some more in September. But if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll find out all about that, and we'll also keep you posted via our usual newsletter. So the plan for the 2020 workshops. The session today is an introduction and some news over the last year. From next week, we're then going to be looking at the product developments since June 2019. And so that's versions 23 and version 24. There'll probably be at least 2 sessions to cover that. And then we're going to start to look at best practice and some different tools and techniques that we use within Paramics Discovery for best practice. We're going to share those in the context of some real-world applications, and then we're going to wrap the workshops up with a Q&A session and looking at what is coming next in Paramics Discovery in the next year or so. So for the remainder of the session today, we're going to be looking at what we've done over the past year. So essentially the news since the last workshops. So one of the things that we did coming out of last year's workshops was to introduce some advanced tutorials on our support center. Now we've done lots of video tutorials that are short, 5 or 6 minutes, introducing new features. And the purpose of these advanced tutorials was to go into greater depth. So they're 20-25 minutes long. And we're able to take a topic like scripting, matrix estimation, and zone portals and go into greater depth of how to use those features. And we'll be continuing to produce these advanced tutorials after these workshops, and we'll be using some of the material in the workshops to actually do that. Now these are exclusive to Paramics license holders, so you can only access them via our support center. So that was in September. On October last year, in November we then launched version 23 of Paramics Discovery. We had some excellent new features in that, and we're going to be covering those next week in more detail. The headline feature was definitely the inclusion of undo and redo into Paramics Discovery 23, and that's received some really positive feedback from our users. I know many of you were asking for that for some time, so it was great to be able to include that in that version. We also did quite a bit with importing and exporting of data, and as I say, we'll come onto that a little bit more next week and show you all of those new features in detail. This year has been quite a different year, really, for many of us, and so for the last few months certainly we've been really focusing on just helping you to continue to use Paramics as effectively as possible, and that's mainly meant enabling you to use Paramics from home. Now Paramics Discovery works across networks very easily, and so we've been able to help you to connect your Paramics Discovery licenses across networks and retain the continuity through that. And we've also been providing extra free S-Paramics dongles throughout this period just to help you, because we know it's a really difficult time. So I know that we have been able to help many of you to continue to use Paramics Discovery and S-Paramics really effectively, but if there is anyone who still needs support, please don't hesitate to contact us, and we will do everything we can to make sure that you can use our products from home. Our development team, support and training team are all working from home, and they're all still busy developing and supporting Paramics. So there's no change in that really from our perspective, and everything is continuing as normal. Since the start of this year, the development team have been working on Paramics Discovery version 24, and there's loads to tell you about this through the workshops. So we'll be doing that in a couple of weeks' time. Now version 24 is going to be released in the summer, and we've already started releasing some of the video tutorials for this version. So if you go onto our YouTube channel right now, you can see in the version 24 playlist that we've got 5 video tutorials. Now, one of the things that we're doing in version 24 is providing a greater ability to interrogate the behavior of individual vehicles as they move through the network. And the first 3 video tutorials are all about that. So interrogating the route that a vehicle's doing, its lane choice and hazard awareness, and also the gap acceptance decisions. And you can do that in real time as a vehicle travels through the network for any vehicle in your model at all. A really strong feature when you're developing your traffic matrices and also calibrating your models. We've also introduced in version 24 incidents, and this will allow you to model a whole range of different things. The 2 video tutorials that we've got already show you how to model a vehicle breakdown and the rerouting that results from that, and also an accident on a highway or motorway. But there are other things that incidents could model, like deliveries or drop-offs and pickups, or one example would be vehicle charging, which is going to be something that becomes increasingly used on our road networks in the coming years. Another really exciting feature in version 24 is parking, and I can't wait to show you that one in a couple of weeks' time. And the parking feature includes on-street parking as well as off-street parking, like in a supermarket, for example. It allows you to do parallel parking as well as perpendicular, and there's a whole range of other aspects to that, which we'll look at soon. And the final thing in version 24 that we've done is a number of visual enhancements to improve the presentation of your models. And so that's introducing some terrain into your model, also a range of 3D shapes, and various graphical improvements under the hood, which just make your models look much better when you present them to your clients. So that's an update on the development of the product and services which we've been offering in the past year. I'd also like to share with you some of the Paramics projects which have been developed in the past year, all using Paramics Discovery. So I've got a few examples from Sistra and then a few from other Paramics users. The first project I want to share with you was one on the M8 in Glasgow, and this is where Paramics Discovery was used to test the impacts of maintenance works on the M8 Kincardine Bridge. Now the M8 in Glasgow is a very busy motorway, and the Kincardine Bridge is a critical part of that, which requires maintenance works on a very regular basis. And when those maintenance works are taking place, lanes need to be closed, and there's an impact on the traffic. And so Paramics Discovery was used to assess the impact that these maintenance works would have on the traffic, to be able to provide some mitigation when possible, but also to inform on the impact on journey times and journey time reliability. So a big part of this exercise was being able to provide accurate information to road users so that they knew the likely delays at a given time as they travelled on the M8 through Kincardine Bridge. A similar project was undertaken on the Kincardine Bridge in Scotland, and this is one of the routes across the Forth estuary. Now, this was also to test the impact of maintenance works, but it was slightly different in the sense that it was looking at closing the bridge entirely in some of the test scenarios, and that meant Paramics Discovery was used to assess the rerouting effects of closing the bridge, where that traffic would reroute, the impact on journey times and journey time reliability again as a result of these maintenance works. So a couple of similar but slightly different projects which Paramics Discovery was used for. Another project which we've undertaken in the past year using Paramics Discovery is to assess the impact of 2 housing developments on the Isle of Man. And this is a very common use of Paramics Discovery. And one of the aspects is obviously the additional traffic which those housing developments add onto the road network, and being able to assess the impact that additional traffic will have. And then also looking at measures to mitigate against that. And in this case, one of the measures was a bypass around the town of Ballasalla in the Isle of Man. So those are just a few of the Paramics Discovery projects which have been undertaken by Sistra recently, and we'll be sharing more of them with you as we go through these workshops and look at some real-world applications together. I also want to share with you some of the projects which have been undertaken by other Paramics users recently. One of them is this project undertaken by White Young Green in Newcastle. This is a model of the North Brunton Interchange on the A1, and it's looking at the impact of 200 houses near this area. One of the interesting things was that this new housing development had direct access onto this major junction. So the junction needed to be modelled in some detail in order to accurately predict what the impact of those additional trips would be. So in this model, we've got a complex roundabout with traffic signals. We've got a grid-separated junction with the merging of traffic on and off the dual carriageways. So there's quite a lot in this model, which was successfully undertaken in Paramics Discovery. This is another example of a recent Paramics Discovery project. This one was undertaken by TPA in Attleborough in Norfolk, and the Paramics Discovery model was used to support a major planning application of 4,000 houses. The Paramics Discovery model included some improvements in the town centre to accommodate the additional traffic, as well as a link road which crossed a railway and several watercourses. Now, one of the interesting things about this project was that Paramics Discovery was able to help to identify at which stage each mitigation measure was required. And so it was concluded that the changes in the town centre could accommodate up to 1,200 houses, at which point the link road was required to accommodate the remaining housing development. And the final example I want to share with you today is a model undertaken by Vectis in conjunction with Warwickshire County Council. And this is a wide area model in Warwickshire. It covers several towns and a lot of the highway infrastructure as well. This was actually updated from an older S-Paramics model into Paramics Discovery, which is a service that we've been providing many of you. And the model going forward will be used to test various highway schemes which are happening, as well as local development plans in the area. And you really get a sense from the slide on the screen of the size and scale of this model, which is being delivered in Paramics Discovery. So that gives you an insight into some of the projects which Paramics Discovery has been used for recently. We've got lots of other examples on our website, so if you'd like to know a little bit more about that, I would encourage you to have a look at paramics.co.uk, and you can search through a range of different projects to see all the different applications that Paramics Discovery can be used for. If you'd like to add your own project onto our website, then we'd be very happy to do that. So please drop me a line at some point, and we can certainly add projects onto that website, and it gives you an opportunity to showcase what you've been doing with Paramics Discovery. So that's it for our introductory session into the Paramics Workshops 2020. We've looked a little bit at what the workshops are for, how we're running them this year, and some of the news over the past 12 months. It's been a little bit shorter than 30 minutes today, but once we get into some of the content of Paramics Discovery 23 next week and version 24 the following week, we'll have loads and loads to tell you about and to show you in the product itself. So thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back at the same time next week, and I look forward to seeing you then.